welcome to another session of basis of fingerprints. So we were discussing about fingerprints. So what is a fingerprint? A fingerprint is an impression left by the friction ridges. So we know that there are four layers for skin. So the outer layer is epidermis and inner layer or next layer is dermis region. So fingerprints we can see in the outer layer, and this is these fingerprints are anchored to the dermal region, that is the inner skin, by a double row of peg-like protuberance of or papillae. So we can see the ridge pattern like this in the outer layer, that impressions are called as fingerprints or the fingerprint patterns. So fingerprints afford an infallible means of personal identification because the ridge arrangement on every finger of every human being is unique and does not alter with growth or age. So we know that the formation of fingerprints starts from the fetal stage only. So when the baby fetus is in the womb of his or her mother, its fingerprint starts developing, and the developed fingerprints at that stage will remain until the life of that person, throughout the life of that person. So it will not change. And fingerprints serve to reveal an individual's true identity despite personal denial, assumed names, or changes in personal appearance resulting from age, disease, plastic surgery, or accident. So it says that if I am a culprit and I am afraid of being caught by the police or law enforcement, so what I will do, I will change my appearance in according to or in regard of escaping from that law enforcement or police personnel. So because for that I will do plastic surgeries, or I will change my whole appearance, or because of anything like age, disease, or any accident like that. So in this case, if the person is hiding his true identity, or we are not able to make out the person from his appearance, but the thing is that fingerprints serve to reveal that individual's true identity. So if we check the fingerprint of that particular person, that person is in doubt whether he is hiding his identity or not, we can check his fingerprints. So fingerprints will not tell lies, that we can identify the person from his fingerprints. It will not change, and we can't alter that fingerprints. And the practice of utilizing fingerprints as a means of identification is referred to as dactyloscopy, or we can say dermatoglyphics. So the science of identification of fingerprints is called as dactyloscopy or dermatoglyphics, and it is very important in forensic science, because when a person is trying to hide his true identity, we can identify that person from fingerprints. And this fingerprints is highly reliable than DNA, because even in identical twins, DNA sequence is same, but in fingerprint this is different. Even in identical twins, fingerprints are different. So I told earlier, each ridge of the dermis, that is the outer skin, is dotted with set pores for its entire length and is anchored to the dermis region. So outer region also we can see, and it's anchored to the dermis region by a double row of peg-like protuberance or papillae. So the superficial burns, abrasions, whatever happens in the epidermal region like cuts do not affect the ridge structure or alter the dermal papillae. So it is not possible to alter these fingerprint patterns through these superficial burns or abrasions, because it's anchored to the dermal region also. So whenever this new skin grows, the fingerprint patterns will come as the same pattern. For example, if the finger of a person, loop pattern is there, that we will discuss earlier the patterns. So the loop pattern is there, and if he wants to hide his identity and he know that fingerprints will make out his identity, so what he will do, he will burn superficially burn that area, or he try to alter that area. But when the new skin grows, this loop pattern with the same ridge characteristics will grow in that same finger, so that it is said that any superficial burns or abrasions or cuts will not affect the ridge structure. But if any injury happened to the dermis region, and if all the papillae peg-like protuberance is damaged, then what will happen, the everything will alter. And any ridge area of the hand or foot may be used as identification. We are using fingerprints, likewise we can use footprints also, but fingerprint patterns or finger impressions are preferred to those from the other parts of body because they can taken within a minimum time and effort. So this is an advantage of taking fingerprint impression. If we can take this in a minimum time and effort, and the ridges in such impressions form patterns and distinctive outlines or shapes that can be readily sorted into groups for ease in filing. So it is recording is easy, and we can store this as database. So this is an advantage of fingerprint impressions. Now let's see the fundamental principles of fingerprinting. So mainly there are three principles for fingerprints, and this is what we follow, and this is what make fingerprint as a good evidence. So no two persons and no two fingers of the same person have identical ridge design on the fingerprints. So this is the first fundamental principle of fingerprinting. No two person and no two fingers of the same person have identical ridge design on the fingerprints. For example, if like take me as an example, so my 10 fingers are there, and it is said that all the 10 fingers, if I am checking the pattern, all the 10 fingers will show different ridge characteristics. For example, my 4 fingers have loop pattern and one finger is having whirl pattern. So this means that 4 loops are same, right? But it is not like that. 4 loop, they will show different ridge characteristics. So if I am checking the loop pattern of my little finger, and index finger loop pattern is there, and in the middle finger loop pattern is there. So the thing is that all the loop pattern, the ridge characteristic is different. So in the same person only the all the things are different, and in another person, like if we are taking 2 persons, they are having 4 loop and 1 whirl in one hand, and 4 loop in 1 whirl in another hand, right hand, left hand. But the thing is that all the ridge characters are different. So no 2 persons and no 2 fingers of the same person have identical ridge design on the fingertips. And next one is fingerprints remain unchanged throughout the life. So this I told earlier that fingerprint starts develop at the fetal stage only. That time that fingerprint developed will not change throughout the life of the person, and we can't alter this fingerprint. So this is uniqueness. This principle is called uniqueness, and this is permanency. So mainly 2 fundamental principles. First one is uniqueness and permanency, and next one, fingerprints have general patterns that permit them to be systematically classified. So there are general patterns, and this will help us to classify and record and keep database of these fingerprints easily. Like, what are the general patterns? Arch, whirl and loop. So these are the 3 general patterns that we will discuss in the next coming slides. So there are general patterns for fingerprints, and they permit them to be systematically classified. So these are the 3 main fundamental principles of fingerprinting. First one is no 2 person and no 2 fingers of the same person have identical ridge design. Even in identical twins it is different. And second one is the fingerprints remain unchanged throughout the life, that is permanency is there for the fingerprints. And third one is it is easy to classify because they have general patterns that permit them to be systematically classified and record. So taking the case of India, we have Central Fingerprint Bureau and state fingerprint bureaus. So all the state fingerprint bureaus are under Central Fingerprint Bureau, and they will help them to uh, do the works of collecting the database and recording all these fingerprints and all those things. So once a criminal is caught by the police, and what they will do, they will collect the fingerprint of the person, and they will keep this as a database. So in Central Fingerprint Bureau and State Fingerprint Bureaus, there are fingerprints of so many culprits. There is a database, huge database of persons. And what are the functions of finger ridges? So the finger ridges have an average width of 0.48 millimeters in males and 0.43 millimeters in females, and they increase security of contact with objects. So there is a friction on the fingertips. So it says that the ridges are studded with small holes. You can see the pores in the finger ridges. So these holes are called sweat pores. So these sweat pores through which the perspiration is exuded, and these sweat pores will help to keep the fingertips moisture, and this will help to enhance the friction. So there is an increased security of contact with the objects when we are holding with our fingers. And next is they enhance the sense of touch. So when a finger comes into contact with an uneven surface, the epidermal ridges amplify the vibrations caused due to the friction and transmit the signal sensory nerves involved in texture perception, and this increase the sense of touch. So we are holding a ball, or we are holding a mouse, anything like that, there is a friction between the finger ridges and the surface. So this will helps to enhance the sense of touch. So these are the finger ridges functions, and for this reason these epidermal ridges are also called as friction ridges. Finger ridges are also called as epidermal ridges because what? Because why epidermal ridges? Because it's seen in the epidermal region of the skin, and these epidermal ridges are also called as friction ridges because there is a friction between our finger and the surface what we touch because of this set pose. So these are the functions of finger ridges. Next we'll see the history of fingerprints. So human identification for many years have relied on anthropometry, and for 2 decades anthropometry, you know that Alphonse Bertillon developed this anthropometry. This is the science of measuring the or taking the physical measurement of a person, and from that identifying the person. So for 2 decades this was considered as the most accurate method of identification. But in the early 20th century, police began identification based on the finger ridge pattern, and these are known as fingerprints. So in early use we can say the Chinese used fingerprints to sign legal documents as far back as 3000 years ago, and in India William Herschel, an English civil servant stationed there, had the natives sign contracts with imprints of their right hand. So he took the thumb impression of the persons for signing documents and all. And in early Chinese also they used to sign legal documents, and also in the pottery, the pots what they are making, they will make an impression to identify the person who made the pot with their fingers. So from that age only it started to use fingerprints, but it was not scientifically proved that it can be used as an identification purpose. And then Henry Fuld, a Scottish physician working in Japan, published his views on the potential application of fingerprinting to personal identification. Then Sir Francis Galton in 1892 published a textbook called Fingerprints, and he is known as the father of fingerprints, and the book discussed how to record them and classification by the three patterns: loops, arches, and whorls. So Francis Galton classified the fingerprint patterns as loops, arches, and whorls. And most importantly, the book demonstrated that no two prints are identical and that an individual's prints remain unchanged from year to year. So this book tells us that there are three patterns and also it is identical and it remain unchanged. So Francis Galton said all these three things, and that's why he is called as father of fingerprints. And in 1897, Sir Edward Richard Henry came up with another classification system that was adopted by Scotland Yard. And in 1901, the first systematic and official use of fingerprints for personal identification was adopted by New York City Civil Service Commission. And in 1924, FBI began their collection of fingerprints for their database, and now FBI has a large number of collection of fingerprints. So this is the history of fingerprints. First it was anthropometry, then in early 20th century police began to start collecting fingerprint impression, and before 300 years ago also Chinese were using fingerprints to seal legal documents and all, but the scientific proof was not there to take this as a thing of personal identification. And in India, William Herschel used these fingerprints for taking the signature. And Henry Ford is also an important person. And Francis Galton, known as father of fingerprints, and in 1892 he published a book called Fingerprints. You have to note it down. In 1892, the textbook called Fingerprints he developed, and three things he told in that he written in that book. There are three types of patterns: loops, arches, and whorls. Then it is identical and it remain unchanged. And in 1897, Edward Richard Henry. So Henry's system of classification is also very important. Sir Edward Richard Henry came up with another classification. And in 1901, the first systematic and official use of fingerprints for personal identification was adopted. And also FBI has a huge number of collection of fingerprints of the persons. So I hope you understood till here the history and basis of fingerprints. In the next class we will continue. So if you have any doubts you can clear. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.